Welcome to Experiencing Consciousness. My name is Dyba.
And I'm Dr. Kathryn Rossi. We're happy you're here. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. The profound letting go of what you don't need.
Yeah. On the sessions before that, it was a lot of things that actually, when I was focusing like that, I was actually going to some corridors and other places that were not very nice for me. And there was also some kind of like distracted, distorted voices that I heard, all speaking some kind of gibberish that we try to make them go away by means of automatic writing. So now when we do it, I'm kind of on the relaxed side, thinking about Iron Maiden thrills and other style. But on the previous sessions, it was not always very smooth.
Well, it's different every time. You're different every time. That's an incredible beauty of the ability to go into trance and not worrying about what's positive and what's negative, just going with what is.
Interesting combination. Dr. Rossi, you say to him, letting go of what you don't need, and to this, Hubert responds with the revocation, or bringing back memories from previous trances of the things that were difficult, and the difficult work that he actually did to overcome some of the parts of some of the voices inside and stuff. And then he underlines the difference. He says that now he is, contrary to the previous experiences, he now is relaxed, thinking about Iron Maiden and stuff. And then you say it's different every time, and you do a reframing. I don't want to quote all of it. Just mention, because I want, if you could comment on that process, on that part of the process, that could be that's going to be so incredible and so valuable. So I'm just highlighting and waiting for your comments.
Well, the firstly is to give a period of silence while Hubert was working. And that sometimes therapists are uncomfortable with silences and they fill in the silences. And I was looking for how long can this silence go on, knowing that this is when the important work is happening. And that there are times in sessions that I do with people that are basically silent the whole time. And I'm just saying, yes, go with that, that sort of thing. And so in this case, as he was experiencing deeply, and that, eyelids are fluttering, that there's something that's really going on, then I say yes, like going with that. And when he spoke about like previous trance experiences, automatic writing, and then hearing garbled voices and things like that. And then shifting to Iron Maiden, which is some of the beautiful themes that were going on in this session, that I was really pleased that that's obviously a muddle of stuff, that's not linear thought going on there. That's trance experience that's going on there. Because you know how brilliant Hubert is and how articulate he is. But when you're in trance and everything is kind of going along, there is this, array of things. And so I said, and then, I said, yes, it's different. It's different every time.
Yeah.
You're different every time. And that's a truism. So, when you want to ratify something, it really is a truism. So when in this muddle that was going on within him right at that time, and it was very different from daily life, that I then interjected, don't worry if it's positive, it's negative. It's like, because I don't know what experiences are coming up that are positive or negative. I just know experiences are coming up. And so I'm always interested in not assigning meaning or not, and helping people to not give judgment to whatever it is coming up. It's just let it be, sort of thing. And so, to not worry about it, just to experience it. And then I think in the very end, I said, something about fear-free. And I will tell you, that's a value in my life, is to live fear-free. And I believe it's a value in most everybody's life, is that they don't want to live with fear. And so that helps to augment the numinosum that's happening. And, that which is fascinating, mysterious, and tremendous, it gives a space for that to arise.
And you say, so I would go back a bit. And at the beginning, you said the first thing is to give Hubert a quiet time so that he could work in a trance state. So in your understanding of this process, what actually happens in these quiet moments, in those quiet moments where people are, focused inward, and what does it mean that they are working on something?
They're working on an unconscious level. And the unconscious needs quiet. It doesn't need the conscious mind to chatter on and to tell it what to do. It needs to just experience and let things arise. And, and some things that arise, it's time to let it go. And so it really is about the unconscious process, as well as the fact that, and sometimes it can even be a conscious process. It's that, people need space and time to work things through. And it's like with music, the beauty of music is the space in between the notes. If you're constantly having notes coming at you, notes and sounds, and there isn't any relief from that, we don't like that kind of music. We like the space between the beats. We like, the ability to just plain experience versus doing. And so the silence is, the silence on my part is very important so that he can do the work.
Would you say, I'm thinking about it in terms of first-stage creative process, and usually I also connect it with some other theories, and thinking to myself that quiet within the creative process brings me the association with the second stage of the process. So one, I got like few questions. One would be, would you say that this quiet is necessary so that the unconscious could come with do some work to, you know, transmit from or transfer from the second stage to the third stage of the process? So that would be the one question. And the other thing is that when I'm thinking about creative process, Dr. Ernest Rossi was underlying that, but also I can see it in, I believe it was Sternberg, and also Goldberg mentioned that in a creative process, there is a very important part of it is that after you work intensely on a conscious level on something, there's this huge importance of having this moment where you just let it go and on a conscious level, and just, you know, things are, you let go of the conscious work, or, you know, the work connected with effort, and then you can just focus on something else, and something else is working on the project inside of you, and then suddenly after some period of time, click, there is a insight of some sort. Goldberg would refer that to the activity between the hemispheres, the dynamic between hemispheres, and, you know, the dynamics between phoneconomal neurons and other neurons that are like shorter in terms of axons. I mean, you know, so these are my associations, just throwing things out.
Well, what's interesting is that I'm the therapist and I'm being quiet. On the inside of Hubert, he was not quiet at all. He was, you know, experiencing. He wasn't making sounds to the outside world, but he was not quiet inside. When you get to the quiet, or I like to think of it as quietude, that's when when you, the client, does, that's when integration happens. So there's almost like when there's a stage 3 aha, there's a quiet before then, before that, you know, spark of insight or realization or direction comes. And sometimes that quiet is really short, but there's always a quiet. It's like when you're surprised and you make a gasp of air, there's a pause that when you're making a gasp of air before then the breath goes out. So and we have so many integrations that go on in any given moment in time. And even in stage 2, the arousal stage, that has peaks and valleys as well. So that has pauses, that has quiet, that has various other things that are going on. It's that wave nature of consciousness. But I think that in regular life, most of us don't give enough space for quiet time and the integration. And as an example, in physical yoga classes, you know, where people are doing the postures and stretching and all this other kind of stuff, and then you get to the end and there is shavasana. It's you're lying down. They call it the corpse pose, and which is, I mean, just heavenly. You know, after there's been all of this activity, and then to lie down and to integrate. And some people, they don't want to bother with that. And it's like, no. You did all of this hour's work, this hour and a half's work, whatever it is, and that your rest phase, shavasana, should be a minimum of 4 minutes, and 7 is better. And it's where the body literally has the reintegration and the flow. And so the ancient wisdom says, you know, give yourself this break, put yourself into silence. when you can, when it's appropriate, and not immediately going on to the next and the next and the next thing. And part of what I believe that psychotherapy offers is these quiet times. Mm-hmm. Of course, not every therapist works like that, but I think that it's one of those things that I think is really something.
Uh-huh. So, Hubert, were you actually working so hard when Dr. Kathryn Rossi was telling about how hard you were working? I was actually looking at you and thinking to myself, I wonder what he has to say about it. And by the way, before you do it, you put something into on your camera that cuts out your field of vision. So if you can kind of, put it down a bit.
Like
the camera was okay. The difficulty was that there was something in the,
okay.
There it is. That's
perfect.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
What was happening? I of course enjoyed the part when I just during the trance there is this moments of silence and this kind of stuff, because this is where I don't exactly remember what was happening, but it was quite quite nice, I think, and the music is a very good comparison, like for example Metallica said but true, when there is a pause, and this is the best moment of the song, when there is absolutely no music going on but the people are waiting for the riff to come back and stuff like that. Of course it's quite okay. Right now I was listening and making you and letting you work and remaining silent, so yes, definitely during the trance sometimes it's good to be encouraged when, for example, I don't know how to say, when a person who was putting you in the trance catches something and trying to put you inside and trying to make you stay that not go away. But sometimes when you are already, I don't know, set your sails and going around, it's not necessary to actually hear all the time something.
Absolutely, as well as I don't think I said it in this session, but sometimes it's said, and some words you may hear, some words you may not. Yeah. It's okay. And I expect fully that you're not going to take in every word, particularly when you're in a deep trance state. But it's more like there's the encouragement. It's that when you were hearing these sounds, these nonsense words sort of thing, that sometimes it's just the encouragement, it's just the tone that's helpful. Mm-hmm. And sometimes people don't even hear that. So the therapist can be talking on and on and on and on, and the client comes out and they say, "Oh, were you saying something?" And what I think is beautiful about that is that, for the therapist to realize, oh, well, I could talk, it's okay, or I could be silent, it's okay. So it depends a lot on that individual. For instance, Hubert, if I was the kind that talked all the time, you would just be going with the melody of my voice. Mm-hmm. You wouldn't necessarily be listening or not. And so what I encourage therapists is be who you are, and however it is that it goes. But the test in the end for the therapist is, are you tired? If you are tired in the end, chances are you were working a little too hard. And the one that needs to do the work is the client, and that your job is to help them, to do that. And when it's on more of an unconscious level, the skill set is a little bit different. But that is how, particularly when I'm giving seminars and workshops, I will say to people at the end, are you more relaxed now than when you arrived, or are you more tired? And almost all the time I hear, no, I feel much better than when I got here. And then I say, I did my job correctly because I didn't exhaust them or me. So, but this is another thing that when you think about how you want to live life, don't you want to live life to the fullest where you have this great experience? And sure, you get tired and this and that, but not feeling more invigorated in the end of doing something than in the beginning. So it's a long way around about the silent situation.
Okay, thank you very much. So I think we can proceed further. So let's go further with the recording.
Fear-free, curious. Sometimes it's very nice and comfortable, and other times maybe not.
But now I have a bit different, like I'm not afraid of that bad experiences, but I find them more like interesting. Not a thing that is an obstacle that is impossible to go around or something that is like distorting me, like I don't know, a spy antenna, but more like a thing that's to make life not be all the time the same positive.
We need that. We need
Yeah.
that variability. How do you know that you're a loving person unless from time to time
Yeah.
you fall to the opposite of that?
Yeah, a person who is all the time happy, high, and hardworking, and caring, and loving, and having like ideal life, it will probably be the worst writer ever. Like you couldn't read this kind of stuff.
Well,
Too perfect. Too perfect.
well, also when someone is like that all the time, that's not honest.
Yeah.
It's not real.
Yes.
I would say I'm cheerful and all of that about 90% of the time. That's my natural way. But I certainly, from time to time, really appreciate being a psycho bitch from hell.
Okay, so we're gonna stop here for a moment. Great moment for a pause. So a lot of reframing around here. Hubert starts with referring to some of his experiences, and then you reframe some of what he says into the idea that here you have the opposite of something, and you have to what you say is that to experience or to be a loving person, sometimes you need to experience the opposite of love. So in this way, you kind of reframe something as a part of something else, and part that is necessary, I believe. A lot of things around here. And then Hubert walks with you along those lines. I'll just be quiet. Can you explain something?
Okay, so when you want to grow, you have to look at the opposition of the opposites, or the apposition of the opposites. And so on the one hand, it's this, on the other hand, it's that. And somewhere in between, you put it together and you create something new. That this was the theory of Carl Jung, and I really love the theory. And so when you're puzzling through something, and Hubert said it great. He said, "It'd be a really boring writer if you only saw one side." And that, it's important to be able to experience both sides. And we know the three of us individually are really loving people. Like that's our natural way of being. It is our nature. But we have to have permission on the inside to go to the dark side from time to time, you know, where you where you're fed up, you've had enough, like, you know, this or that, or you're pushing people away so you can be by yourself, so you can think, you know, you need a break. And this is part of what makes us human and what makes us whole, is to have both sides. And so you know, we had some, you know, some fun with it. And then, of course, when I said, you know, that something neither one of you has seen the side of me that's the psycho bitch from hell, it only comes up about once a year. And I really enjoy it, to be honest with you, because it's so unlike me. But, you know, it's like, I mean, I'll go on a rant for like 20 seconds. Like, you know, I mean, I'm not out of control with it, but I really, really enjoy it. And because it is the other side of me, and we always have two sides. So it doesn't have to be equal. You don't have to be, you know, 50% this and 50% that. You know, I'm more 90% happy, 10%, you know, unhappy. So it's not the proportions, it's that you can go to both sides. And in a way
flexibility.
The flexibility and to not be ambiguous about it. It's like sometimes you're like, you know, this really outstanding person that everybody can recognize, and other times, you know, you're kind of on bad behavior. It's like, you know, you're grumpy, you're this, you're that. And certainly in writing, when you've got characters, no one is going to read about your perfect characters.
It's like, called Mary Sue, I think. It's kind of a character which is too perfect. Usually a main character is called Mary Sue, and it's considered like a very beginner's kind of mistake of creating a character.
Well, exactly. And so to be able to, like, you're fortunate, Hubert, because in your writing, you can really enjoy going to the dark side with some of these characters.
Yeah.
And so another person would wonder, where is his mind? And when you know that you're actually a really loving person, but you enjoy making this numinous experimentation into characters that are just terrible. I mean, they're just reprehensible type of thing. And I love that.
Deep into that darkness turning, all my soul within me burning.
Well, exactly. And why can't it be joyful in visiting that other side? You know, I mean, I should not have assigned it the term dark side. It was just fun to assign that term. But, you know, it's the other side. And earlier I was saying, you know, sometimes it could be positive, sometimes it could be negative, of really taking a look at what these opposites are. And the thing that you can trust is when you stay with the opposites, something new will always arise. And so that's one of the ways to help potentially bring about a stage 3 aha.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Okay. So let's proceed further with the recording.
Okay. It's so rare that it's enjoyable, because that's inside of me too. It's not all sunshine and roses. Sometimes there's avalanches, and they're interesting too. You just hope they don't bury you and kill you. Or even if they bury you, that they don't kill you, that you get out from the other side of it. And that's interesting, There is no part of you, Hubert, that is destined to live a boring life. There is zero chance of this.
I'm gonna pause here for a moment just to ask one question. So you go further with the reframing, and there is an integration of all of this. You say all these things are within me too, and we all have them, and then you kind of provide the two metaphorically ways of handling them. I mean, that's my impression. I don't know how you interpret it, but that's what I kind of see in the dynamics. What do you think about it, Dr. Kathryn Rossi?
Well, you know, I mean, as we're going further into and you could see the joy on my face. You know, as I was talking about this genuine joy, the genuine joy of exploration, which is really, you know, what we're doing. And then I gave another truism. There is nothing about you, Hubert, that is destined to live a boring life. And I look at your smile right now, and it's like
always nice to hear. It's always a good moment when you hear it.
Mm-hmm. And it's a truism, you know, again, that Erickson said, whatever you do, you make sure that you're honest. And particularly when a person is in trance. And so when I'm saying something, because I'm honest, and Hubert knows that I'm honest, and he can feel it on the inside of him, he's able to receive this. And the seed that I'm planting here is when he goes into a little bit of doubt from time to time with writing, it might enter his mind. I am not destined to be boring. You know, I can go into the heart of this evil character, for instance. I can go there because I don't do boring. And I can overdo something and I can dial it back. But you know, I'm going for the hilt. I'm not gonna have anything interfere with my freedom. And so, you know, so in this case, it's a truism, but it's also a seed that I'm planting that I expect has grown in you, has it not?
Of course.
It's a good seed.
Yes, that's definitely a good seed to grow and grow.
And also it's nice to be recognized for who you are. You know, to be seen, to be understood for who you are. And so that was, but it was really about planting this seed. And as you know, I think from other experiences that we've had, Jan, is I think boredom is a superpower, because if we're bored, and if you're a person that's not destined to be bored, you're going to do something different. That's what you're going to do. It's a massive motivator. So I find it to be really a superpower. And to put the cap on it, that it was 1 year and 9 days after Ernie, my husband, died. And I woke up that morning, and I woke up bored with hearing my story in my mind. And I laughed out loud as I got out of bed, because I know that I don't do boring. And I sat myself down and I asked the important question, have I reviewed this enough? And the answer to that question was yes. And that I needed then to, because it's very passionate, all this review that goes on inside. And so I had to gently walk away from all of that review, because it was now boring. It was not instantaneous, but I realized, no, I'm not committed to a boring life. I'm going to do something different. I got this signal on the inside of me, and I'm going to pay attention to this signal. And so that is when a huge amount of grief lifted that day. And that was 1 year and 9 days after he died. And not that I didn't go into other grief situations, and even today, of course, but the depth of grief lifted that day because I don't do boring. So so again, you know, as a therapist, I bring to the table things that are really true for me and how I see life. And then even though I have these thoughts that go into my mind, I don't immediately bring them into the session unless I feel that it is appropriate, like that it's a seed or it's a way of validating that it's going to be received in the uniqueness of Hubert. But I thought that you might like to hear this little story of one of the huge transitions in the course of grief was based on that.
That's a very interesting one, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, for example, quite a few people who, for example, struggle with their problem of, for example, with alcohol and alcoholism, they are sometimes more afraid of being boring. For example, being that they think that becoming sober will make them boring people, and they have the big fear about that. So I heard this kind of stuff, and realizing that I don't do boring, like no matter if I'm sober, working, not working or stuff, but I find my way of doing things. It's a very good thing in therapy of very stuff, a lot of stuff. But I heard this kind of things connected with, for example, fear of being not drinking, for example, like and so it is a big driving force, like. I don't do boring. That's also a good slogan, like
Yeah,
trademark.
okay.
I don't do boring.
You know, so I can see the T-shirt now, and I can see the monster coming out of the tree with the sign that says, "I don't do boring."
Yeah.
Yes, there's a lot. The reason why, you know, as we're doing this analysis of the session, is there's a lot to unpack. And but it does become interesting, because the question becomes, for those people that are listening, is, hey, what do you do with boring? And I've watched some people who they just seem to go there, and all I can think is, well, I guess you're destined to do that, you know, because you do all the time. And but reaching out for the numinosum of what's next is the opposite of boring. And Jan, you don't do boring, that's for sure.
I just wrote that down. Maybe we're gonna do some t-shirts with it.
Yeah.
I hope so.
And plus,
but it can be slogan in many different like ways of work and not work. Just don't ask me, for example, what my new book or film is about. Don't ask me. I don't do boring. Trust me. It doesn't matter.
Exactly. Well, and what are we doing right now? We're laughing, we're smiling.
Exactly.
And I think we're put on this earth to be happy. We just have to figure out how. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this slogan, and that's going to be developed.
Can I put this slogan and, you know, at the bottom the reference to you, Kathryn Rossi, PhD?
Sure.
Because we're gonna do a series of t-shirts with the you know, with the slogans from the podcast and stuff. And
yeah, but when you will have your institute in Poland, and you will try to recruit new students and so on, it can be, you know, on the open day of your institute, you can give this kind of t-shirts. Don't ask me about this method. I don't do boring. Trust me.
I don't know. What if it turned out we changed the world today? You know, it's possible. We three could do it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. But I literally wrote that down, and I'm gonna be working on it. You know?
Oh, good. Yeah. I think I can hardly wait.
Well, I'm gonna try to do the best I can. Okay, so I think we can go further with the recording.
Okay.
This was another episode of our Experiencing Consciousness podcast. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you, Jan. You're the best. Be well, be happy, celebrate life.